Hello, this is Ken Muscat with MSC Cruises here with Travel Market Report, and happy to have Jennifer joining us today. Thank you for being here.
Thrilled to be here.
We're so excited to hear what we're trying to get out of some of the top travel advisors in today's community of what can make other travel advisors successful. So first, tell me a little bit about how long you've been in the industry, who you work for, and what got you into the industry.
Absolutely, Ken. As most people know, I'm Valerie's oldest daughter, so there is a Valerie Wilson. And she started this small family business in 1981, 38 years ago, when I swore I'd never work there. Fast forward, I used to do sales calls with her for the Westbury, joined her for 2 years, and people say I'm a slow learner. I've been with her for 28 years. And I love the industry. I grew up in it. It's second nature to me, and what I do on my side is a little more in the corporate meetings and incentives and strategy.
Okay.
So I wanted to carve my own path. Wanted to follow in my mom's footsteps with the integrity and the passion, but wanted to help develop our family business as a very viable second generation. So my sister and I have been there more years than our mom, which is sort of funny.
Yeah.
And yet what we realize is we all have great strengths and we complement each other, and there's plenty of business out there for all of us.
Yeah, well, Valerie Wilson obviously has a tremendous name in the industry, and so happy that you're doing that. You focus on corporate incentive travel. So how important do you think it is for travel advisors today to pick sort of a niche or a channel that they should really focus on? Because a lot of times I hear, I just can't learn it all.
Right.
And I don't think we're expected to learn it all. So how has that benefited you?
I think it's a great question, and what I answer is I'm always very fortunate to be considered a specialist in business travel, which could be C-suite, could be airlines, and I oversee those programs, could be meetings, incentives. Some meetings are considered destinational weddings. So where I'm going here is it's a strategy of matching up the client, the supplier, and really expectations with the right advisor at the right time. No one can know the world. In this, I love learning, our advisors love learning, but no one can know the world. So what I would say is you want the right cultural fit.
Right.
You really want to find out and say, what are we trying to serve? What is the end goal? And based on that, on the leisure side, you might work with a cruise specialist, then you'd work with a safari specialist. On the corporate side of the business, it's executive services or online, offline, both high touch, high tech. On meetings and incentives, you have a dedicated account manager, so there's not one answer.
Right.
I would say for new advisors going into the industry today, you have to sort of think leisure or corporate.
Right.
It's right brain, left brain. But within those two broader categories, you can become a rate specialist, you can become a hotel specialist. We have a suite access program, you can become a suite specialist. On the leisure side, cruises, tours, safaris, Europe, understand by country, family. I think it's a passion point. It's far less what you know, it's what do you believe you can sell.
So how somebody who's interested in getting into the corporate side, how do they start? What advice would you give for somebody coming new into the business? Many people look at, how do I even begin to get into a corporation or build relationships with that? What's your advice?
From our experience, we are very fortunate. We have not only seasoned advisors, but we have new entrants. And those new entrants can be coming right out of college. We have a phenomenal summer internship program where we bring like 15 people in. And they work in every department, from marketing to accounting to actually being an advisor or training to be an advisor. We also have new entrants, people who have been attorneys, bankers, who have decided they write well, they communicate well, they have a passion for travel, which is going to be my theme, but they want to service guests and get into this business. So I think it has far less to do with, did you study travel? Do you think you want to be an advisor? It's passion for travel. And then again, understanding sort of the leisure side of the business or the corporate side. But once somebody joins us, we have a very strong training program, and we suggest that they go through ASTA's Verified Travel Advisor Program. We're a proud member of Virtuoso, and they have VCTA. But then I look at Valerie Wilson Travel, and we go to our 26 preferred hotel programs, and we look at our top airlines, where we have sales desks and exec desks and tools that we can help solve problems. We go to our cruise lines and our tour partners, our cruise lines in particular, where they can become specialists. Are you a small ship? Are you a large ship? Are you a river cruise? Are you expedition? But I think anyone looking to join this industry has to find the right fit for a travel company, and then they have to look and say, how do they want to service a customer?
Right.
Corporate, very quick. Last minute, got to change. Leisure, you could be planning for 6 months, 1 year, further out. Meetings, you usually get the group side and the contract done ahead of time, but
Right.
then it has the same fast paced of the corporate, so I sort of see it as a hybrid.
Right. And what is the best tools that you find most successful in learning about different brands and learning what, especially on the cruise line side,
Okay.
what are the best tools to get people up to speed with what brands have what and the differentiators
Right.
between the brands?
I think the one thing I've realized 30 years in this business, which is sort of a scary thought, everybody learns differently.
Yeah.
Not only the advisor, but also the client. So there's no one size that fits all. I can use Valerie Wilson Travel as an example, where we certainly have Virtuoso Travel Week, where we had 51 people as part of the pilgrimage to Las Vegas earlier in the month, supporting ASTA and AGC. I think smaller forums that occur. I think brand training is critical. We have very much an open door policy, unlike a lot of our competitors that limit exposure from advisors to actually frontline selling, account managers,
right.
VPs, the whole food chain of whichever industry. We want them to have those relationships.
Yeah, for sure.
We've taken it a step further. We have 40 suppliers a week that come into our New York City headquarters. Sometimes we plan 2-3 months out. But we have something called insider access, where Kimberly or I will sit down with a C-level executive and really walk through what is it that makes Valerie Wilson Travel be a good partner? What's the client you're looking for? And we usually have 45 to 60 people who sit down for 45 minutes. And of course, we network before and after, because this industry is all about networking. And it's just not what you know, but it's who you know.
Right.
Because nobody walks into my office and say, gee, Jen, are you having a great day? It's usually, there's a problem, there's a crisis, there's an issue, how do you solve it? So we try to give all of our advisors, particularly new to the industry or new to Valerie Wilson Travel, those tools.
Excellent. When it comes to corporate incentive or large meetings, how are you seeing the cruise industry evolve? Many people, especially corporations, don't think about a cruise. They immediately think about a hotel ballroom and all the costs associated with it. But the cruise industry provides an incredible venue for those kinds of events. How have you seen that change over the years?
It's still changing.
Yeah.
It's still evolving. I would say cruising in itself is going through another explosive growth period. Understanding, does someone want a river cruise, a small sailing type vessel, or a very large ship?
Right.
And understanding, again, that personality. Are you a sunrise, sunset person if it's individual? For a group, it's harder, quite honestly. There's a constant re-education and a perception where we have to think of it like a destination, or we have to brand it and educate. It's more like a floating hotel, because there are so many meeting planners or groups or multi-generational families that just don't fully understand. I think one of the challenges for me when I look at the board meetings that we do, when we look at exec education that we handle, when we look at not-for-profits, many of those are our sweet spot for groups. They want a shorter time period.
Yeah.
They're thinking 3 nights, 4 nights at most. Most people, again, perception thinks 7 days, 14 days, 28 days, or the Great World Cruise, something like that. That has a bit of a educational disconnect.
Yeah.
Again, a perception issue on the meetings and incentive side. So I see it as calm waters and clear skies as an opportunity for cruise lines to reach out to those of us that certainly not only have corporate clients, leisure clients, but this meetings and incentives business.
Huge opportunity, and just further emphasizes the importance of travel advisors today to educate corporations or whoever it may be on what the cruise industry has to offer.
What your opportunities are.
What the opportunities are.
Right, not just take it off the table immediately, but bring it forward. And if you start to educate people over time, they may not bite the first time or the second time, but when you start to show the value, particularly with cruises, compared to all the add-on, and you don't need the buses to and from meeting spaces and events. I think it will come, but it's going to take time.
The bell starts to go off. Yeah, it does take time.
It's not one and done.
Yeah.
I think it's a constant education, and it'll become iterative.
Yeah. Last question. So I know you speak in front of audiences a lot, and you're on panels, and you've got a room full of travel advisors. What is the one piece of advice that you always want to make sure that you get out there to them?
You got to be passionate about this business. You've got to love this business. You're going to have good days and bad days. You have to remain glasses half full.
Yeah.
We're in a great economy right now, which I hope it stays. And I'm a firm believer in saying that there's no reason that it shouldn't, and we shouldn't be focusing on the naysayers right now, but you've got to be passionate. Absolutely have to love what you do. We are a service-based business. You have to be willing to serve. And if you really go back to the root, serving is good if you believe you want to do it. And it's not just your job ends here. The life cycle of a trip, from planning to when we hand our customers off to our preferred partners and our suppliers, to while the guest is on the trip, touching base. It's not an imposition to hear from somebody. Technology's changed, so we get a text, we get a photo, it's different. And then reaching out to them, because when somebody comes back, they're already thinking about their next break or their next board meeting or their next trip. So for me, it's passion.
Passion is key. Relationship-driven business, and you got to be passionate about what you're doing.
Absolutely. I also think, again, I can't believe 30 years later in this business, you have to have mentors. And you have to have the ability to mentor others. And I always look at it, and I'm asked the question all the time, to say you've got to have someone that you really can call to say, should I trust my gut feel? What do you think? Is this a good opportunity? Should I stay where I am? It's someone that can see you at your best, but also see you at your worst. And I encourage all of our team members, regardless if they've been there 2 years, 10 years, 20 years, who are they mentoring?
Right.
Because somebody helped you get to where you are today. How are we going to help that next generation?
Perfect closing for exactly why we're doing this segment. So we very, very much appreciate it. Great advice, and thank you for spending time with us.
Oh, great idea, and thank you for sponsoring this event, Ken.
Thank you. Continued success.
Thanks.